Good evening, everybody. I'm Richa Agarwal, CEO Imami Art and Chairperson, Kolkata Center for Creativity. It's been very, very exciting for Ushmita and me to put together Imami Talk, a series of conversations that started with just a small conversation. I would like to thank our speakers for the first session for allowing us into your homes and allowing us to be a part of your lives. Though Pooja and Iranna need no introduction, I would still like to do a little brief introduction. Pooja Iranna was born in 1969 to renowned artists Rameshwar and Shobha Bhuta. Although her first choice was to study architecture, and this remains quite evident in her work, Pooja completed her BFA and MFA in painting from the College of Art in New Delhi. In her works, man-made structures, construction, and textiles talk of human presence, expressions, mind, and emotions without their actual presence. She creates structures representative of strength. At the same time, she has been working in many mediums, working extensively with staple pens, paper, photographs, digital and video art, as well as canvas. She recently had a titled Silently Solo Show after a decade that unfortunately fell victim to the coronavirus outbreak. G.R. Irana was born in 1970 in a small town, Sindhgi, district Bijapur, Karnataka. He acquired his Bachelor of Fine Arts from the College of Visual Arts in Gulbarga in 1992, his master's degree in painting from the College of Art, New Delhi. Between 1999 and 2000, he was an artist in residence at the Wimbledon School of Art, London, working across genres such as paintings and drawings, sculptures, and installations. Irena says his work can never be divorced from the human condition and that he treats all forms that he creates with an equal passion. With this little introduction, I'd like to hand the evening over to Ushmita to take it forward. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the third episode of Imani Art Talks Conversations. The past couple of days have been a learning experience for all of us, and we've had audience from as far wide as the US, France, Nepal, UK, as well as all over the country. And I really thank you all for tuning in and encouraging us with your queries and comments. And today we have with us artist couple Pooja and Gia Ranna with us. Hi Pooja, hi Ranna, welcome. And thank you so much for agreeing to share your thoughts on this platform. I would like to take a moment to remind all our viewers to write in their questions. You may see the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screens. If you are on Facebook Live, do write your questions there. Somebody will share those with us, and we will try and accommodate as many as we can at the end of the conversation. So I would like to start with some slides of your works. This image, I think, Pooja, is from your recent solo, Silently, at the Center for Contemporary Arts, Bikaner House, New Delhi. And the question that I would like to ask while I show some of your work images is that when I was looking through your works, one thematic core that runs through your practice and which I found very interesting is the element of grids. And I want to make an observation that grids function for centuries as an artist's tool. And it can only in this century or in the 20th century, we see it becoming or coming into an independent element in artists' works like Mondrian, Malevich, Sol Lewitt, Agnes Martin, Ad Reinhardt. And Rosalind Cross wrote about the grid that it is emblematic of modernity by being just that. And what role does grid play in your work?
Actually, if you pose this question to me, and I think grid has become a very integral part of my art practice lately, in a sense that I have started noticing uh, grid everywhere. I think it's started with me starting my drawing on a simple sheet, making a grid, and then it eventually, as it progresses, the work takes layers and layers and becomes an architectural space for me. And I think it's the same thing that I see in my sculptures also. From one angle, they look like plain drawings of grid, and from the other angle, if you observe, they become very dense, very stern architectural space. So I guess grid is used as a medium, as a drawing at first, and then it gives. I mean, it's given my own language onto the material that I'm using. Yes, it is important. It is there, very much evident.
So there are various mediums that I can see, like for instance, the one on the left is a pastel and watercolor on acid-free paper. On the right is a sculpture, I think, made of staple pins. And the staple pin sculptures themselves, I find very interesting because the medium itself one does not kind of think of as a sculptural medium. It is fragile and it's such a miniature object. How did start using this particular material to create these grid patterns and to turn into a three-dimensional form?
I think I was looking for a material which could satisfy the 3D aspect of my thought, and then I came across staple pins because I need to be very intimate with my material. I need to use my hands, my senses, in order to experience, in order to create. I cannot have another person. I cannot take any other person's help while I'm creating. So I guess it became I mean, I was so happy to find this material. It took me obviously 2 years to understand the whole material, how I'm going to stick it, what is going to come out of it. But then it became my baby in all sorts. And then it also not only is a delicate material, but then when it's put together, it forms structures which can be like very solid and tend to get very heavy also. And but it just satisfies what I have been wanting to say for years.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I think, Iranna, your phone, if you don't mind, could you put it on silent? Because every time the phone comes or message comes, I think your sound gets a bit distorted. Is your phone on? No? Okay.
Can I get up?
Yours? No. Anyways. Somebody's phone. Anyways. So Pooja, you talked about, the locus is integral to your practice. In a recent interview, you mentioned that 30 years ago, you saw buildings of Delhi and now you see a kind of deterioration. How has Delhi and especially its architecture, both past and present, informed your practice?
I think since the very beginning of my childhood, all that I could, because we were living around the Connaught Place, I was very much aware of only buildings, right? And then eventually, as I grew, the whole what skyline of Delhi started changing around me. It was very, very beautiful, very very exciting at the same time during those years. But eventually, I understood or I saw that this became a mundane practice. I mean, you just found not beautiful spaces, but then now you find builders building endlessly without any thought, and building spaces just matchboxes. So that is the kind of deterioration that I observed, and I do get disturbed about it.
Can you discuss a little bit about the various mediums that that you use? I mean, you're doing digital works, and especially some early images that this I think is a early work. It's from 2004. It's a digital work. You're doing photography-based works and sculptures, and so could you discuss a little bit about
Very beginning,
working across?
I have been very excited about the material. I don't stick to one material. I think that's the way I am. I like to experiment a lot with things that I find exciting. But the thing is that over the years, I do come back to the same mediums that I had used previously and forgotten, or just kept them aside in my mind, and come back to them with a different approach. But usually the thread is again architectural spaces. And then I think I started with watercolors, and then it became mixed media. I was experimenting a lot with paper pulp, and making a lot of paper myself at the time when it was something very new. I don't indulge too much in canvases. I don't think that's my forte. But then, yes, as and when a new material excites me, I try to understand I've how I can use that, and I think it's been so far a very enriching experience for me.
Mhm. So these are a couple of earlier works, right? The right-hand side is the kind of work that you just mentioned, experimenting with making paper.
Yeah, that's when I was like putting things inside layers of papers and then working on it. And the other one that you see is one of the first installations that I did, which was photographical work on boxes which I could dismantle, and in my own sense I tried to solve the problem of how an artist has to deal with making installations and then also placing them back into your studio. So this was a good experiment in the sense that I could just fold them into structures, and after the show or wherever I was wanting to display them, I would just dismantle everything, put it back in a portfolio, and that's how I would I solved in my own sense solved the problems that I was facing as an artist, as a struggling artist at that point.
So one more very interesting thing about your whole works, if I can just quickly run through it, is that there is an austerity of form and there's a limited palette. But apart from there's a lack of the human presence, in the sense that you are making architectures, but you do not include you know any kind of a obvious presence of the humans, but that means you're sublimating that human presence in the terms that architecture itself becomes indicative of the human presence. So could you just talk a little bit about that?
How I see architecture or a space, any space that is living or abandoned, talks a lot about the vibrations of people. You needn't, I mean, they needn't be there, and you can understand the stories. You can understand what they have been through, what as a culture. If you enter a space which is old, you can understand obviously the culture that has been there, and the kind of understanding that the people had, with each other or the system or everything. I think architectural empty spaces say a lot. And so there was never this need of human presence. They say all about humans without humans being there.
Right. Thank you so much for now, if I can move on and talk about Iranna, about his works for a bit, and then come back to asking both of you certain questions. So Iranna, you know, I think this work,
Yeah.
most everybody is, yeah, you can talk a little bit about this. It's the installation Navu from the Indian Pavilion at the Venice Biennale earlier last year. So can you talk a little bit about this?
So you're asking a question or just still showing?
I'll show the work, but okay, the question that perhaps I can ask is that when I look through most of your works, there is a, very strong presence of almost philosophy and spirituality and the iconography that we, uh, uh, associate with that. And I think that has played a very long and important role in your practice. But in your more recent works, the ritualistic practices have been emphasized both as a conceptual and material source. For instance, in this particular work or this one, you have used ash both as a substance and a metaphor, or you use sometimes charcoal powder as emblematic of fragility of life. Could you share some insight on these concerns?
Yeah, definitely, because every practice, every artist practice is some certain the spiritual act.
Mm.
That's what I believe. Because when you have fully faith what you practice, the practice become a creativity. Very, I believe. So end of the day, your experience is most important. What you have been experienced, your experience is only yours. Nobody else. So that is very, very important for me. I mean, each and every person, not even just not an artist. Because so we are all go through so many books, so many uh, the material of the world. What the history. But end of the day, it's all their experience. When you have your own experience, I think it is you always come with new idea and new element in that, because it's completely bare, it's a new thing what is coming out of from you, so. And when you ask these questions like ash, and these are actually material which has a lot of significant, like ash has its own significant, if you go to the Vedas, Rig Vedas and any, so it has a great value. I just try to exploit that values of the ash, because when you I have to bring a little bit my early works, for this concept, because the recent work which how I reached in this place. So actually I was totally brought up like a very bare place, white paper, like it is something which is, you have no idea what the world, have no idea what is the political system and economic system, but you were totally brought up like what good thing in your life, you are from your elders, from your gurus, from your place, from your school, so those are always you grown up like the one small flower, blooming in the forest without knowing anything. So when the flower comes into this society, then started realizing, there is a lot thing, there is a lot of violence, and then it is totally a surprise for you. Especially when it is surprise means it is your experience, it is new experience every time, when you hear here and there, and so when slowly you becoming, knowingly unknowingly, you are totally against of that violence, so when you're going against violence, because you brought up, this ash is actually when I was a childhood, I used to put on my forehead. Even today also I put on my forehead, because that tradition, which is has a lot of value, because it's called holy ash.
Mm.
So that's idea is something which is, we have a history of, I mean, not even for what you believe, 10,000 years back, and what religion it was, 20,000 years back, what religion it was, nobody knows. But today, what religion, what the thing is, so we are totally fighting each other, killing each other. You never know what for 10,000 years, what religion is going to be state.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's a human being. What practice is most important, what I feel, that's why the ash is become formless. When you die, and ash created out of the ash, that's the form. So it is the cycle of the life, what I'm trying to do, simplicity. And even it is basically, I titled this one is particularly, form and formless, it's very simple. And it's created like the small, sorry, who's this?
Your son's phone, I think.
I think,
No issues, no issues. So, Iranna, like when I was reading, through your website, I came across this idea where you say that ash or vibhuti is applied to, the child when it's born, and in the sense, this inseparability of life and death are simultaneously evoked, and the idea of mortality remains embedded within immortality and death and life and that circle. So I think that was very interesting. Do you want to reflect on that?
Yeah, just couldn't finish my point, So this is actually material, I just try to exploit those material which is even I used, when it shows the Venice work also, which is used that Paduka has is a significant. So, and it is called in a holy Paduka, I mean holy sleepers, because the most of the spiritual gurus are wearing those the sleepers. So I tried, when the Venice banner title, which was the name of the Gandhi. So what I did, it is basically as a Gandhi as a movement, the power, the energy. The energy is becoming for the peace, save the, I mean, to protecting that, So in fact, it is the Indian independent movement, that the time. So everybody wanted to be in a Gandhi there. Everybody become a Gandhi in that place. So that was my whole idea, because so it is I want to try to bring the whole it's like an ocean, like the Dandi March, but each and every person has reality forgotten. Then what I did in Ash work, and here also there is some similarity. There is some similarity which is you are completely the strengthen the whole thing, and when you become as a work of art, you forget the Padukas. You when you see closely, there is each and every the Paduka has stories. Each and every Paduka have the values, and it's when you go to close, you recognize there is a religion, there is a profession, there is a person. Then it is when you see it distantly, it is becoming one. So that is my idea, is to bring oneness. So now, as exactly mentioned already, now is actually particularly used. It's a Kannada word. Now is mean we all together. We all together means we become a oneness. The strength, the oneness is most important here. The reason is that I mean we all one. Even we also read every the Brahma is everyone's in the one Brahma. What we have learned, So it is Brahma is the same. So why we are fighting? Why you killing? So then it is always that question is always remains in my mind. So I wanted to bring that sensibility, which is I express through the work, which is I try to bring. When you trying to bring that, you have to think about the material. Material has own value. The material has also demand some certain ideas. When you have an idea, you find out to searching for the material for that. When material also supports you, then it's become more stronger. So that's why it's different material I used, and sorry.
Right. So I'm showing a couple of works, early works, and so in the past you've mentioned that you have extra sympathy for the working class and the farmers, and you've been particularly sympathetic to the laborers and beasts of burden, and especially the environment we live in. And this springs from your rural background. Could you talk about this, and do you find any links with this thought and what the current situation?
Farming background, because my father was a landlord. I've grown up with that clay. I've grown up with that the whole field. I've grown up with that the animals, which is cow and everything. Because it is totally bare. So those experience, I think today's children, I don't think so they will get it. And I'm the most luckiest one to get that experience. So actually, certain. So such a beautiful world, what we do with that, it's always the mysterious question is always there, So that mysterious, when you bring it, it's the mystic is always there. The mystic, when it comes, art, it's become as a work of art. I always try to bring that mystic, So most of the time, I'll come to the question, a little bit I'm covering there. So when we see the land, bare land, when you grow the sprouting the small the weed also. So in that case, every day you are experiencing one flower, two flowers, second flower. You experiencing that, and it is your experience, and you getting. So when that is such a beautiful, the farmers, the beautiful life they are living. So as I connected. I'm also as a farmer, as a painter, I also create the same way. I create surface of my work. I create a surface of sculpture. When when you started act, it is always create something else out of it, So it is unknowingly, nobody knows what is coming out. Even for myself also, when you're taking the shape, it is takes you in that journey. You're part of that journey. So that's why I always been connecting with the farmer as the way he waits, the way he put the seeds, the way he create the land. It is same way, same experience what I'm getting in my work. And second, sorry, there is one more. The neighbor, yes, the neighbors. Yeah, the neighbors' boundaries always changes. So every second day, every day, there is a boundary line. It changes. Like the earlier Pakistan was not there. The earlier Afghanistan was not there. I'm not saying world was not there. America was totally the whole map is keep on changing. It's the law of nature. But we are to changing the borders. It's the same here, same land, same everywhere. You just our self-satisfaction for our one life to try to change the border. This is my house. This is my colony. This is my border. So I think that we need to come out that, I think every human being is most important, that's why, I believe in that, so mostly, even because I read so much of about the Sufi writers, like, from 12th century to even today also, the amazing wording metaphor they have, it's amazingly they narrated the way. I mean, that's, I try to understand, I try to conceive those metaphor, maybe probably comes in my work, maybe these works are already, which is I'm showing, which is coming out, there is somehow, there is directly, indirectly, there is a connection.
Yeah. So another interesting thing, like you're talking about your background, and both of your backgrounds are very different. Pooja, you are a second generation artist in that sense that your parents were both quite well-known artists. And Iranna, you come from, as you said, a rural background. So how did you both approach art? I mean, Iranna, when you went to study art, was there some, did your family approve? They didn't approve? What happened there? What is that story like?
See, it's a very, very different story. I have no idea what art and artist practice, because, when you're coming from this small place, I've only the dream, I just wanted to be in a paint, not a painter. I wanted to be in a paint. I wanted to be in a sculpt, So, I mean, I even had no clue also it is a professional too, actually. So then I practicing, there is attraction. There was in a college, Gulbarga College, because my father was, have no clue what I'm going to do it. But he was not stopping much about it because, he has no, even he had no idea of other field too, because whatever I'm doing it is always for him, it's fine, whatever you're doing is good, things like that. So when I joined the art college, I think slowly I started understanding about the artist practice, So earlier it was, I just wanted to be in a paint. I wanted to be in a just painter, either a sculptor, So then I think the Delhi admission, which is changes me a lot, because it is totally different and it is totally the modern metropolitan city, which city has itself is so much of different culture, and you try to understand, every corner, there is a new thing, which is new element always there, you're always getting surprises, the same surprise even today also I'm getting in my, yeah. So I think those are the great help, I think if you think my family side, I think even they cannot dream also what I'm going to do it,
Right.
It was like,
yeah. What about you, Pooja? Very different story, I'm sure.
Yeah, totally opposite. I think I wanted to get into architecture, but obviously out there during those times, an art student couldn't be a part of, couldn't join architecture. So the obvious thing that my parents suggested was that, okay, you join art and then after 4 years decide what you want to do. Maybe you want to go into designing or anything. I mean, an artist who has a creative background, I think can get into anything later. And so that's how I joined College of Art. And then I think I took 2 or 3 years of break before I wanted to do my master's. And that's it. I mean, I realized that, art was for me because I was such an introvert, and in any other profession, you need a group of people to interact with. here this was like, for a person like me, it was like, it was just fine just to be in my room, just to create. I mean, it was such a beautiful thing to happen to me, because I didn't want to, I was not good enough to take help from anybody, or, go and work in a group. So I
Right.
think it fitted very well into my system.
Right. So we'll ask some of the questions because we have a lot of questions coming in. And so there's an observation from Harry Atchison. He says, hello, I think he's your friend. He says, you're both looking well. I'm listening from Corona, New York. All is well here. Aditi Raman asks, Iranna, what is the reason behind putting Buddha sculpture upon boxes? Can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, basically, it was a time which is, I think, 2008, I remember, 2008 or 2009, something, I don't remember the date now, but it was a time, I tried to bring, always I bring the iconic element in my work. The reason is that some of my behind the idea is to react to normal people, layman, because they can connect, they can create the story, they can narrate. It's open to all of them, because that's why, it is for everyone. It's not completely for me. It is, and they can create new stories out of it. So most of the time I try to get that popular element in my work and use that, exploit and use that the iconic power.
Okay.
Like a Buddha was.
Maybe one question can be joined up with this. This is from Prashant Salvi, who's watching on Facebook Live, and he asks, this is again for you, and I think in connection with the earlier question, I've seen so many monks and trees in your work. Can you tell me something about that? I think it's similar.
Yeah. Even the tree question we can cover here only.
Yeah, another question is Sushmita Barua. She asks, no, not Sushmita, Safu asks, can you tell me something about the tree painting done in a diptych? So it's a similar question. So maybe you can give
all the element, So I try to bring, the Buddha's images become used as a peace symbol. There is no Buddha. There is the idea of Buddha, the power of Buddha, and is lying on the. It is a medical. When you get the broke your bone, it's external fittings always put. So I'm trying to, in some certain very slippery area of the piece of the world piece, the slippery area which is I try to hold it, I try to reheal it, So I think that is it's a title called Piece in Pieces, when it become a pieces, I try to reassemble it. So I don't want to, because of time short, I can't go more elaborate, so many things. So in that case, it's the trunk which is used, it's not a only trunk. Is when this trunk particularly, when I migrated from my place, my father given this one. In that time, you can make out what condition it was. So I think that was always in my mind. It is a migrating, it is a travel, it is a yatri. There is a connection. The Buddha not for the only particular one person, one place. It is even Buddha another place also. It's called as a yatri. The yatri is everywhere. It is a pilgrim everywhere. It is as a traveler. The piece is traveler. I symbolize that. And it's all locked, and he's lying on it. The he means it is a piece. So that's, and again the connection as a monk and priest. So I always bring into the how the innocent getting victimized, how the piece is being tempered, exploited. Some certain level, like so what we read, what we are getting, it is a totally different from the idea, because person to person, the idea will change, the concept will change, we tempering certain the way I want. If the way I want, I read the Veda, the way I want, I read the Gita, the way I want, I read the whatever the Quran, and we try to put our ideas on top of it. So we try to tempering on it, because it suits us. It suits, I don't want to give an equal right to other person. I create that sensibility. Yes, it's my full right. I'm a boss and you have to listen. I created the law of the name of religion or dharma or society. This how we playing with that. In that innocence. And the tree I use as a my own consciousness as a human being. It is always recorded. I treat it as a human being. Even in
Like
fact,
I think you've mentioned somewhere that it embodies silence, stillness, and a meditative quality.
yes.
So yeah, so that's very interesting.
When,
Can
when
I
it,
ask Pooja a couple of questions now, if you don't mind?
no, please.
Then we'll come back to you. So Pooja, a couple of questions with Jagannath Panda asks, this is a question by Kaivalya. Pooja auntie, who are the artists who inspired you the most and why? And then somebody has asked, how do you see void space in your work? And are you both influenced by each other's works? If so, in what manner?
What did Kaivalya ask? Sorry.
So your favorite artists who have inspired you the most and why?
Really, to hear his father's name, I am very much in tune with what he does. I like his work. Okay, happy Kaivalya.
I don't think he wants to hear that, but
I am very much interested in what the young generation is doing. I get very excited to see what is the idea behind them because they're always doing something so new and something so vibrant. I take a lot of pride in understanding that, I think what our youngsters have been up to, it's so amazing. And I tend to get a lot of, I enjoy their work a lot.
anybody in particular?
As far
Or
as
would you rather not name names?
it is about the work, it is I cannot talk about anybody in particular, but in general. And also, sorry, what's the other question?
So how do you see void space in your work? And do you both collaborate? If so, how? Influenced by each other works? If so, how?
I don't see void in my work. I think my work gets very complex, first in the head and then on the surface. For me, it is like that. And as far as collaborating, I think we are different in our own rights, and we have never collaborated. And I think our the way we think, we both agree with each other all the time, but then we're not able to inculcate that in our working space. That's the difference between the two.
We are both doing the urban landscape. Means it is a very small word, but it is very deeper meaning also. Urban landscape means your journey. Your journey, you see, you can take the from the outside. I try to go inside the person. There is I entered the urban landscape is inside the urban landscape. She looked outside the urban landscape, but the approach is there is somehow there is a connection as well.
Right.
So maybe using the different element. Each and every object has the character and nature. How you use and the simply I have been told so places also. Every object and next to each other and next to different object, it's create a new dialogue, a new conversation. So like one small object, keeping like I always keep the example, see the one flower which is on the samadhi, the same flower keep temple. It's a flower the same, but it creates a different meaning. So the same way, in the next flower, next to one object, what you putting, it creates a new dialogue, new narration, new stories out of it. The same way, I think most of the each and every artists have been there is a connection like a flower. So this approach is different way. They look at the different way. There's no me the way I look at the one object should not be same way she has to look at the same object, the same way.
Of course. The concerns can be similar, but the way you are dealing with them or making them can be divergent, and that is how it is. So there's an interesting question for you from Sabrina Osborne from London. She writes, looking at Iranna's work, Wounded Tools and Dead Smile, I feel there is a strong element of politics for lower working class, especially now, how they have been treated in recent incidents of COVID-19. The imagery has a new reading. what is your stand, and was there any similar intention when it was created, when the work was created?
Yeah, hi, and of course, she's my friend, and both are friend,
Yeah,
So it's basically that he mentioned, I use the element which is, the donkey is as a innocent animal, which is most, I consider as most innocent animal. So we can exploit only with the innocent people, So we can use the way I want, the way we want, so that is there is somehow the whole society, the committing the society, and even the farmer, even there is a gardener, all the tools become wounded, they are not able to speak, they're not able to uh, do work. I think it's a well connected to today's time, because the farmers not able to reach their home, they're not able to eat food. I think it is somehow, after 10, 12 years, I think it is connecting. But it was not my intention to be connect to the corona. But the idea is to be how exploit the innocence mind. It
right,
works.
right. Rajneesh Jain, I think Nidhi writes Nidhi writes, hi, great initiative. Question for Pooja. Do you think your parents' art practice influence and intertwined with yours in any way? Regards, Nidhi.
Sorry, it's not
I
clear.
think
The
voice
question
is
is not
little
clear.
breaking.
Yeah, she's saying, do you think your parents' art practice influenced and intertwined with yours in any way? And another question from Pujal Gupta. I'll just punch the two questions together. What is the role of material in your art process?
What is?
The
The
role of material in your art process.
Material comes in, it is a very important part because, like I said, I indulge in a lot of different materials and mediums that I want to say this almost very similar things to the same different materials. I want to say the same thing. So it plays a very important role, and also that in few material will always have its restrictions. So there is a dire need to get into another material in order to satisfy that the need that one material could not satisfy you with. And what was the other question?
Influence your father.
Father and mother. No, not. I think from the very time that I decided that I wanted to be an artist, I knew that it was going to be very much more difficult than a normal person who's trying to be an artist, because everybody see after 50 years of 30 years of work, I am asked this question. Understand how difficult it is to find an identity and to make a name for yourself, and people tend to understand and tend to look for similarities all the time. If it wasn't just for your parents, now it's many times with your husband. So I think it is very difficult. It is a continuous struggle for an artist to find its own, to make a mark for himself or herself.
Oh, very true. I agree with you 100% there. So as we are kind of running out of time, I would like to end with one question that we've been asking all the artists that have been on this conversation series. That is, do you have or would you like to give any kind of advice to young artists right now stuck in their homes, and a lot of them are feeling frustrated with the whole scenario, and they're also very apprehensive as to how the whole situation will change in the post-COVID era, which I think we all have such questions in our minds. So if you have something that you can share, that would be lovely.
Corona, lockdown.
I think I would like to first of all say that art starts from an artist, right? So whatever the situation in life, it is we who create, we who understand, it is we who are giving to the world. So never be dissatisfied with how the world is going to receive it. First, you have to be confident with yourself. You have to constantly question and be critical about your art practice, and then it goes to the public. If you're not happy from inside, if you're not satisfied with what you're doing, I think the public will obviously do not understand. How much time does the public have actually to encounter my work? Okay, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. But if I do not know, if I'm not confident enough what I want to speak about, it doesn't matter to anybody else except for me. So I think you don't have to feel insecure as to, we have always faced bad times when it comes to art. I think only 1%, not even 1% of people who understand what artists are doing today, of what they are wanting to say. We don't even, I mean, services basic services like painters are allowed to go for work, but artists nowhere are on the list of anybody. So we have to understand and live with it, and be confident about that. Okay, no matter what, I think the art has to be from your studio first, and let other people respond as in how they want to respond later.
Right.
It
What
depends
about
on
you?
what you do, doing for yourself or you're doing for the other people. If you're looking for the certificate from the public, then do it for the public, because certificate hardly has a value. When you have own satisfaction, I think when you have own confidence, we see everything from our element. I mean, body element, eyes, hair, and everything we see. But we try to touch inside also. When you started touching it within you, I think maybe we started realizing what you are. It's very important to understand what you are and what you capability. When you started understanding what you are, there is no required anybody certificate. I think that is normally, the today's time, that is everybody thinking the competition, pressure, and stress. I think no, you are, because you're comparing to other people. You cannot compare to yourself anybody. It's impossible. So once you start realizing that, I think so probably you will be become more stronger, more capable to do things, and you start enjoying your own work. You started respecting your own work because it is your experience. So it's your baby. So I think you should not cry. My son is becoming a black. I was a black. No, it is true. You should enjoy that. It is very important what you are, because what you are, it comes out. It is very much important, and it is very happiness thing. What I'm trying to tell here. So at the end of the day, always there. It is all given by society. The success is given by society, not yourself.
Thank you so much for being here. I am really thankful for both of you for taking out this time, and I thank you from our audience's side. And I would like to remind the audience that we will be here same time tomorrow from 4 onwards with Mithu Sen and Samit Das. And please do send in your feedback, because that will help us to streamline the program, correct our mistakes, and hopefully better ourselves. Richa, would you like to say something?
Yes, I'd like to thank all of you for being here today. Thank you, Ishmita, for curating these talks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irana and Pooja. It's really very exciting for us to go, to live through a part of your life, understand from you rather than trying to interpret on our own. And I'd like to thank my team who is at the back end prompting us and putting things together. Thank you, everybody, and see you all tomorrow.
And I would really like to apologize those questions that we could not accommodate due to time constraints. Uh, but thank you anyways for writing in. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.